Hello internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind creation Miss Couture. In today's episode of In the Dye Pan, we are going to leave no dye and experiment a little bit with like color block on skeins of yarn, and we will see the result at the end. So we're going to be prepping our pan here. So I'm going to be using two different pans because the way I want to dye with my leftover dyes is basically having one part of the skein in each color. So it will leave a white space between the two colors. If you remember a little bit ago, I'm not sure when you would have seen it, but we did the experiment with the specklings of red and green. So in that video, I had lots of red and greens on my gloves, so I was able to create quite a bit of a stock solution from those two colors. So I will be working with those two. I will leave a link to that video in the description box below if you're interested in watching it. So we added our acid in the pans. We've added roughly 9 cups of water in each pan, and I'm adding a color per pan as well. Seems like I kind of didn't really properly mix it. Okay, good. I just didn't. It was too fast. My bad, friends. In between the pans, I make sure to clean up my spoon just to make sure that I don't contaminate one color with the other one. And now we'll be adding the skeins of yarn. For some reason, I chose to not pre-soak them like I usually do. I guess I just wanted to see the absorption rate on those skeins. So those are skeins of my classic sock base. So it's 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. And we're going to make sure that we try to separate the brands. I feel like here, if I had pre-soaked the skeins, it would have been easier to separate the strands of yarn. And my fear is that it's not going to have like a decent coverage because of that. But we shall see, right? So I'm just going to be speeding up a little bit this section simply because there's not a whole lot of information that you need from this section. But I did add more water because I don't think I had enough water in there to make sure that we would have a nice coverage. Because when you're trying to have like a solid color on your skeins of yarn, you need the dye to be able to englobe the strands of yarn. So you need it to be able to float freely so it can catch on all the dyes. And also you just notice I just turned on the heat in the pans, so now that like the color can start striking on its own. So just squish and making sure that we get a little coverage on all of the strands of yarns. So it's going to be quite pale, and I'm not sure I like how pale it's going to be because I don't want to go for something more pastel. I would rather have like much more vibrant colors. And here you can see what I mean by pastel, and you can see also that we don't have an even coverage. The yarn towards the bottom is much darker than the one that is at the top. It's probably due to the lack of water in the pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be adding a little bit more dry powder on it, simply because I'm not a fan of the color right now. I just don't think it looks that great. like if you do like the look, just remember that when it will be dry, it will be even more paler than what it looks right now. So might as well just add some color. And one of the plus of just going in with the dry powder like that is that I can just wash my gloves in the pan and it's fine, because I will just add more pigment into the skeins, so that's pretty nice. So let's speed this up. You don't need me to squash all that just for the funsies. And now we're adding the green. Green is absorbing slightly faster than the red. That's normal. Like, greens do have a tendency to spread, but they also do strike quite nicely compared to reds that will have a longer absorption time, where it's also one of the reasons it's a little harder to play with red, because it spreads and it takes time to vat, and most of the time, even if you've vetted it for like half an hour, you will still have some slight pink in the pan. So any day that I have a clear dye bath after I dyed red is a good day for me. So now that we've added all that beautiful color in the skeins, what we're going to do is we're going to let it cook on the stove for about 30 minutes. And anytime that you're manipulating dry powder, just make sure that you're also using a respirator mask, because those particles are not very friendly to your lungs. So, see you in half an hour. Okay, I lied. I've let it sit overnight. And now this is the spot where I honestly should have just let it be. I figured that I should add some speckles on the white section, because I had this beautiful vision. I had this beautiful vision of little speckles in between, like candy cane crushed things between the green and the red, but I wanted to do it only on one side, just so that way we would have still a lot of white. And I didn't learn from the previous video where I did speckles with red and green. So if you've watched the video that I'm referring to, basically red and green spread a lot and they are not the best candidates for speckles. Sorry about Bruce. We had a neighbor pulled into their garage, and apparently that's not allowed in our neighborhood. Alright, so in the pan I've added about 5 cups of water to have a low immersion, and I've also added like more acid dyes as well. I honestly should have started my heat sooner than this, simply because like I never learned apparently, if you want the pigment to strike faster, you should have something that is quite warm. Anyways, so I've added this little bit of dye, and it will honestly spread a lot. So I'm going to let it cook for 30 minutes, and we will be letting it cool and vet for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we will be cleaning it up. I'm not expecting a whole lot of bleeding, but probably a little bit of pink in the bath water, because just due to the nature of reds in general. But as you can see, there is no hint of pink in the dye bath that we had, so that's a good sign for our skeins. So we'll be washing it up. And also, for anyone who's wondering, I'm using always unscented soap, and it's always wool soap, so you either use soap wash or eucalyptus soap. That way you don't have an allergic reaction to any of like scented product. Obviously, if you're allergic to lanolin, please let me know. And like, it's very clear, there's nothing. I'm very happy with that. It never happens with reds, so I will take the win. So, And since it's one of those soap wash and everything, you don't have to clean it up that much, which is great when you're working with wool because you don't want it to felt. So it's going to go in the spin dryer. I will let it dry 24 to 36 hours and we'll see the result quite soon. So here's the side-by-side of a twisted skein and a open skein. This is one of the reasons why I always add one of those pictures in my listings on my website, simply because I want people to understand what they are purchasing. Because when you look at the twisted skeins, you wouldn't necessarily understand all those speckled area in the middle part. And I understand that some people would like to have like a swatch made out of the skeins, but when I'm playing with colors like this, I don't do swatches because I would have a skein to sell you afterwards, which is quite unfortunate. So it's the best option I can have in this situation is to have an open skein and a twisted skein in my photo, so that way as a buyer you would be able to make the decision based on that. So that way it would be better. So like I said, green and red have a tendency to spread a lot. And unfortunately here it creates like a messy look, but I think that if you were knitting socks, it could still be quite fun to work with that. And what I've learned here is that I will need more water if I want to recreate something similar. Maybe next time I should try with actual pots instead of my pans. So, you know, it was a learning experience that I really appreciate. And honestly, if you've liked it, just let me know. If you had any suggestion of how to do something different next time, let me know as well. I will also leave in the description box below the Google form if you're interested in sending ideas of what you would like to see on the channel in the future. And with that, if you've liked it, please consider liking the video, sharing, subscribing, and all those beautiful things that makes this channel a little bit more successful, and it's all because of you. So thank you, and I will see you very soon.